Hey everybody, I hope you're ready for some great Bible study today in Bible Bistro University. We're looking today at Genesis chapter 10, and in Genesis chapter 10 we have, it's a scary word, but we have a lot of genealogies. So don't be afraid, strap up, it's only a little bit. It's 32 verses long, so we're just going to treat the three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Actually, it's the opposite. We go from Japheth to Ham to Shem and look at their children. This is going to be good. We're going to see some of the names that we recognize. We'll see a little bit about how the writer is setting up for us what's going to happen in chapter 11 and further on in chapter 12 with the story of Abraham. So get ready. The third generation, the generations of Noah, right up here, right now in the Bible Bistro University. Welcome to Bible Bistro University today. And today it's going to be fun. We're going to look at another genealogy. It may be a little shorter today, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I always tell the folks at church that genealogies, you can always find buried treasure in genealogies. So this is one of those places where we're going to find buried treasure. There's a lot of information here, and actually it gives us very specific information about the nations. One of the Bibles that I have calls this section the Table of the Nations. I've entitled this The Generations of the Sons of Noah. So again, now we're in that third dispensation, and this is after the flood. This is what happens after the flood. Men repopulate the earth. They replenish, just like God told Noah to do. You go forth and be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. So there's a replenishing that's happening. Men are spreading out. And it comes from these three sons of Noah. And we find our own genealogy here as well. So let's just begin. We'll look in chapter 10, beginning here in verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. Now we're going to begin with Japheth. We're actually going to go backwards in the list. It begins with Shem, goes to Ham, and then Japheth is the last. But now we're going to begin with the last, and we're going to go backwards. We're going to go Japheth, Ham, and Shem in the chapter. So first of all, Japheth. There's not a lot of material here on Japheth. You'll see he begins there in verse 2, the sons of Japheth, and you'll notice that I've already got a lot of these titles and divisions marked in the outline. Gomer and Javan are the only two boys of Japheth that we're going to talk about here in this chapter. But you'll notice that there's Magog, Madai, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. So all of these sons are sons of Japheth, and they're having children too. They're having lots of kiddos. So you'll notice that he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boys. 2 of these boys are mentioned, Gomer and his children, and Javan and his children. Now, if you look at the list, there's some familiar names that you see. First of all, Gomer is a familiar name. Magog is a familiar name. Tubal is a familiar name. Meshech is a familiar name. So all these children of Japheth have gone out and they've begun having their own families. And we can tell where they've gone by their names. You notice it says Kittim, Dodanim, and Tarshish. We know these places. We know these peoples. Also notice in the list there of the sons of Javan, you have genitives, Kittim and Dodanim. Now we're going to find this quite often in this chapter. Instead of the boys' names being given, you have a genitive for the people that they fathered. So Dodan populated this nation or these peoples called the Dodanim. The I-M at the end of the word is a genitive. It tells us that we're talking about a people group. Kittim is a people group. And Kittim and Dodanim, we know them. These are the Greeks. So the sons of Javan populated the Mediterranean world. And it even says down there in verse 5, these are the isles of the Gentiles. They were populated by these guys. Tarshish, we know Tarshish because where does Jonah go? He wants to run off to Tarshish, which is all the way to the western end of the Mediterranean. That's in Spain. We know Magog and Madai and Tubal. All of these are family names from the Central Asian countries such as Armenia. The sons of Japheth also populated the European countries. So Japheth's boys, all of them go west and north. So this is the whole family of the European, Asian, Central Asian countries and the Mediterranean. And it says, the isles of the Gentiles were divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. So now we're dealing not just with specific families, but now with families that become nations, like the Dodanim. So Japheth's sons just occupy a few verses here at the beginning, which is kind of sad for me because this is where I come from. My family comes out of Japheth because I have European descent. So I know that somehow, some way, I'm related to one of these 7 boys that Japheth had. Now we go down here to verse 6, and we're going to talk about the sons of Ham. There's a lot here about the sons of Ham, and you'll notice while in the sons of Japheth we only talk about 2 of the 7, here in the sons of Ham we talk about 3 of the 4 of his sons. And so we're going to talk about Cush, Mizraim, and Canaan. Now we know these people. Cush and Mizraim. Mizraim is the Hebrew word for Egypt. So these are the Egyptians. Cush, we know them because this is also an African nation. And Canaan, of course, we know this name because the land is named after him, the land of Canaan. And all of his boys are going to populate that land. So notice, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabteka. So all of these are the sons of Cush, and then we're going to follow Ra'amah here. He's going to father Sheba and Dedan. Now we know Sheba, don't we? Where does Sheba come in? Remember the queen of that name? The queen of Sheba, she comes up. So this is another African nation that is fathered by this boy who's the son of Cush. So the sons of Ham, through Cush and Mizraim, populate the south. They go to North Africa, Africa Central, and further south, and also in the land of Canaan. We're going to see that here with the boy Canaan in just a moment. Now we have here in verse 8 this narrative that goes from 8 to 10, talking about Nimrod. He was a mighty one. Now we've had this idea of the mighty ones in the earth before, but here it is again. Nimrod is one of those mighty ones, and he shows up. He's a great hunter, and he establishes none other than Babel. We know Babel, don't we? Yeah, we know the kingdom of Babel, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, all these city names. We know them, and they're a part of that kingdom that he establishes. Verse 11, out of that land went forth Asher. What land? Well, this is the land of Mesopotamia, because that's where Nimrod establishes Babel. So from that land went forth Asher. Now you notice that I have Asher here highlighted, bold, and italic, because we don't have him in any of these lists so far, but we're going to find him as one of the sons of Shem. He built Nineveh and the city of Rehoboth and Calah. Okay, so he's an important man. He, like Nimrod, is a city builder. So he goes forth, but he is of Shem. Now we have Mizraim. Notice how I have this, how I've done this. Cush is over here. It's right or left justified. Mizraim is centrally justified because he's in the middle of this list. And then when we come to the next page, Canaan is going to be right justified. There he is there. Right, Mizraim begets. And then we have this list. All of these folks are going to be found in the area of North Africa and Central Africa. So this group of men that this fellow populates. And notice again we have genitives. We have people names. We have the Naphtuhim. Okay, that's a population. That's a people name. That's a people group. Parushim, that's a people group. So, and you'll notice that Cashluhim, out of whom came the Philistine. Who's the Philistine? Well, we know them, don't we? They're going to become the Philistines that are in the time and in the story of David and before that and after that. All right, Canaan begat Sidon his firstborn and Heth. Now we come to the third boy, Canaan, but we have Sidon and Heth. So we have two personal names here. And Heth we know because who does Abraham buy the field from? The sons of Heth. He buys the cave of Machpelah from the sons of Heth. So we understand these people are in the land. This is a son of Canaan, and now that becomes a people group, the sons of Heth. But then you'll notice that again we have genitives. The Jebusite, Amorite, Girgashite, Hivite, Arkite, Sinite, Arvadite, the Zimarite, and the Hamathite. So all of these are people groups. They are all descended from Canaan. So he begets all of these folks. These boys become nations in their own right. So again, what are we doing? We're being fruitful, we're multiplying, we're replenishing. Canaan's folk go in the Middle East and they go south. The Mizraim, they go to North Africa and south from there. Japheth's folks, what do? They go west and north. Right? So notice that it says here, afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. The border of the Canaanites was from Zidon. We know where Zidon is, right? That's in the north of Canaan, of the land of the Palestines, of the Philistines. And then we go south to Gerar and Gaza, along that Mediterranean coast. And then we're going east to Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim. We know these places, even unto Lasha. So they go south through the land and then east all the way through the Dead Sea area and into that lush plateaued area beyond. These are the sons of Ham after their families, their tongues, their countries, their nations. Unto Shem also the father of the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. Okay, so now we're going to come to the children of Shem. Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. Now here's some more names that we know, but notice that we're only going to talk about Arphaxad and Aram in this list. We've also mentioned Asher, so we know what he did. He establishes Nineveh and those other cities. He's a city builder. But Arphaxad and Aram are the ones that we're going to follow here. Aram had 4 boys, Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad had Selah. And then we followed this line. Selah, Eber, unto Eber were born Peleg and Joktan. Now we're going to follow Joktan here in chapter 10, and you'll notice that we have his descendants listed there, and there's a bunch of them, like 13 or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13 boys that Joktan has, and it tells us where their dwelling is from. Their dwelling was from Mesha unto a place called Sephar in the Mount of the East. So he's going east again with these fellows. So most of this population is going to be living in the Mesopotamian areas and further east. Their dwelling, okay? These are the sons of Shem after their families, their tongues, their lands, their nations. Now, let's go back up here just a second. You'll notice that I have Peleg highlighted here in bold and italic. It's because we're going to find out that Peleg, his descendants, are recorded for us in the next chapter, in chapter 11, which will be our final chapter. Peleg is going to be the father of Abram. But, of course, we have to go through all the descendants. I think there's like 6 generations before we get to Abram. But Peleg's family is the one that we're going to follow into Abraham, and then we get very specific about the descendants then of Abraham. So we're narrowing down. We're putting that funnel together. We're looking at one specific family. So it comes out of Shem through Peleg down to Abram. So we'll talk about that beginning in chapter 11. But I just wanted to show you that that's highlighted. So we have these children, 5 of them, who are the children of Shem. 2 of them are mentioned here in this chapter, and we're going to see Peleg mentioned in chapter 11 because that's important. His family is going to be the one that we're going to follow. And these are the generations of the sons of Noah, the families of the sons of Noah after their generations. This again is the third dispensation of men. The generations of Noah is how I've designated it. And we've followed them now up to and through the flood. We're reestablishing life for men on the earth. These families become nations. These nations spread out across the globe. They're repopulating the world, and it's happening within just a few generations. Something you'll notice also in this list is we don't have any dates. There are no years given for the life of these men. We're just told about this, about their nation building, about their spreading out. We're going to have dates given to us in chapter 11. That's where we'll have something more akin to what we had in chapter 5, with the name of the man, how long he lived before he had a child, the child that he had, and then he had more sons and daughters, and then he died. So it'll tell us something that we're familiar with, but right here we don't have that. Okay, so join me next week. We'll finish out the three generations of men in chapter 11 next time here in the Bible Bistro University.